Hi, beautiful people, welcome to my YouTube channel. I'm Lina, and in today's video, I'm going to show you how I made this corset slash bustier top without a bra cup or bone. But I want to say this, that if you have a big breast, if you have a big bust, you should use a cup, and if you want to accentuate your curves, you should use a bone. Okay, so let's get right into making the pattern. As usual, I used my basic bodice block pattern. So I have a tutorial on how to make a bustier using a mesh net or net a lace fabric, so you can check that out too. So what I did was to mark out 5 inches from the waist down. That is where my bustier top was stopped, because I don't want to go all the way down. So I traced from the shoulder down to the 5-inch mark. So this is it right here. So this is my already traced basic bodice block pattern up to my desired top length. So these are my material to start drafting my bustier pattern. So the first step for me was to mark out my underbust in order for me to create my curve. My underbust is 13.5 inches. Sometimes I use 14, but now I'm sticking to 13.5 inches. So I ruled that out. I also marked out my bust distance, which is 4 inches. I marked that out on the bust and on the armhole depth, and I marked the midpoint of the shoulder. I connected the points like so. The next step was to get the measurement of the midpoint of the armhole depth and the underbust like so, and mark that from the armhole depth up. This is my cup coverage. You can go higher, like half an inch if you want more coverage. On the underbust, to create that, I marked out 3/4 inch on both sides, while for the shoulder that I marked half inch on both sides. From the armhole depth, I marked down 1 inch. This is to connect my dart. So it's time for me to connect my dart. The next step was to extend that 1 inch mark in order to mark out the half inch that separates the bra cups. So this is the half inch here, and also this is a guideline to create your bra cup. So in order for me to create I take my time here creating my bra cup. I just eyeball it to see what looks good. I really took my time here creating the bra cup curve, so you can just take your time as well and create your curve. You just eyeball it and see what looks good for you, and that is it. The next step was to create the top curve of the cup. I also took my time here. I have a video where I drafted 3 styles of bustier top, so that video will be really helpful, so you should check that out. I'm gonna put a link on the screen and in the description box. So after creating my curve, I went down half an inch and connected the cup just like so. Next step was to add half inch to the armhole for the dart there, and I took out 1/2 inch on the waist, that's the dart on the basic bodice block pattern, and connected it. But this is not important, especially if you're using a stretchy fabric, because I use the stretchy fabric, and adding the armhole, that allowance was so not important because I had to take that out because it was stretchy and the stretch was adequate enough. So the next step was to mark 2.5 inches from the center front, just like so, and connected the midpoint of the underbust dart to that point, just like so. This is just a design, especially if you're using a stretchy fabric, you can do such design. So I cut out my pattern in order to continue drafting the bottom part of the top. I want to say that using a stretchy fabric, you don't need that much, you don't need to add that allowance, especially if the stretchy fabric is adequate. So now I added another design to it. From the mark there, I went out 2 inches, I went up 1 inch and connected the point. You can create as much lines as you want. If you put in a bone, you can create so much lines and insert bones there also. Yeah, so this is it here, my pattern. I labeled this 1 2 3. So for the back, the back is just a breeze. So I added a pattern to mark out my 1 inch zip allowance because I'm using a zip allowance. So I went down 1/2 inch just like I did for the front, and for the center back I went down 1 inch and connected that point. So that is all for the back. Just include your zipper allowance if you're doing so. Okay, yeah, I took out the 1 inch that allowance because I don't need it. I'm using a stretchy fabric, so I don't need that allowance at the back. So these are my patterns. So this is my fabric. I'm using a denim stretchy fabric. Yeah, so that is why I didn't add the dots and all those things there. So this is the zipper I used. I didn't see the color of the fabric, so I just got something close to the color of the fabric. So this is my pattern and my fabric. I've already cut that out. I cut out 2 pieces, yeah, for the facing and for the main fabric. Yeah, so I used the same fabric for the facing. So this is it here. If you're following, you can do just that. So now I attached all the bottom part of the fabric except the cup. So I attached it accordingly, just like so, pin and sew. I'll also advise that you use a bone and a bra cup. I'll show you when to insert your bone as I'm sewing. So now I've finished sewing. I want to overlock the back to make it look neater, and the fabric frays, like seriously, it frays a lot, don't know why, so I have to use my overlock machine to clean that up. So yeah, I have done so, and also press. So this is it. So the next step after all this is to do a top stitch. So this is the time for you to add your bustier. So I'm doing 4/8 top stitch mark. So depending on the size of your bone, you can do like 1/2 inch, or you can do 4/8 or 3/8, depending on the size of your bone, and insert that right inside that space there, the top stitch space, just right inside there. Using a bone, that is when you insert your bone. So now I have I want to sew the facing, so I just put that together, match them up together and sew, just like so. If you are using a bone, insert your bone before you add your facing. So after that, so this is me trimming, and I also did a top stitch, just to prevent it from bulging out to the front. So do a top stitch close to the edge, just like so, just to help the fabric stay intact at the back. So once you are done, you turn it back, the back, just like so, and also hem the bottom. Is it hem? Okay, sew the bottom, just like so. Sew the bottom, yeah, just like so. Pin down and sew the bottom. While sewing the bottom, I had to stretch the fabric, as you can see. So once you're done, you trim and you turn over. You just put your hand inside and drag everything over. After turning your fabric over, you press. So this is it. I have pressed mine and it's looking flat, just like so. It's time to sew the cups together. So if you are using a bra cup, it's time for you to consider the bra cup and sew and insert your bra cup. If not, fine, this is okay. But don't forget, I have a really small breast and a saggy one for that matter, so I can pull off this look without a cup. So I don't think it's for everyone, so you should do so and insert your cup. So I did a zigzag and did a top stitch. So that is it, and you press and you sew that together. So you run a top stitch at the edge, just to pull the fabric to the back to make it stable at the back. So this is it right here. I'm gonna run a zigzag stitch at the bottom of the cup. So see how flat and nice it is. So assuming I'm using the cup, I would have inserted my cup before doing it. So what you do is just to pin like this, the bra cup inside the top, and you follow the lines, and ensure that you align the dots together with the bottom part of the top, just like so, and you pin and you do a top stitch to connect the bra to the top. So this is me trying to sew. So there's this big huge bulky stuff there, so I had to like change my needle to 18, size 18, just to pass that huge bulge there. So you run a top stitch on it, 4/8, and also sew. So this is how it should look once you're done. So just try as much as possible to sew on the edge and the 4/8 inch top stitch, just like so. So it's time to insert my zipper. So I'm using an open and close zipper, which is ideal for this type of top, so you can easily wear it. So what I did was to fold in my zipper allowance, just like so. Put my zipper in place like so and pin. So once I'm done pinning, I used my needle and thread to put it stable. Reason for that needle and thread is just for stability. I don't want to sew and loosen the stitches and sew again, no. So I rather use my needle and thread to make it still and sew and rip out the needle and thread stitches. So I call this zipper prepping. I don't like stress, really. I don't like my zipper to stress me, so I just prep it with needle and thread like the way I want it sewn. I just use the zipper to sew it exactly the way I want it sewn, and I just sew. So this is it here, no stress. And then I just sew, then rip it out later. So this is my zipper foot, just so close to the teeth. So this is it, all clean. So I ran stitches on the top there just to keep the zipper in place. This is my last pieces of fabric, so I used that to make the sleeve. So what I did was to make the width 25 inches and the length 8 inches. I used the smoking thread, that stretchy thread, and create the sleeve. I had plans for the sleeve, but I didn't know the fabric would not be enough for the plan I have for the sleeve. So I'm going to do this tutorial over with a cup and a bone, and you see the difference. I'm going to wear them side by side. You see this difference with the actual sleeve I want. So the length, the width was 25, the length 8 inches. So I just cut that out and overlock them together in order to get this one wholesome smoke line. I don't want this line to be big and small. So this is the thread I used. I didn't get the color of the fabric again, so I inserted my threads and I sewed. So this is it. I folded it just like so and I sew. Like I said, the joining of the sleeves together is just to get this straight line for the smoke. I don't want this line to be different from the other line. I just want it to be straight, which I did cut later. I cut it open later and made the sleeve separately. So this is it all done. So everything looks the same. The two sleeves are attached together, but they look the same. So I'm going to cut that open and sew them separately. So inserting the sleeve was the last step, just to pin, serger, and that is it. So this is the last step. I went up a bit, just like ½ inch up, and I sewed 2 inches on the back side and 2 inches on the front side. So it's 2 inches on the front and 2 inches on the back. So this is the last step. So thank you. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Thank you. See you soon. Bye.